Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Before I start looking at seagulls, I just wanted to clarify a little something. I said that it didn't say translated by on the cover, and that's because I looked at the cover, but I didn't look at the spine. The spine said translated from the original Irish. So I just wanted to correct that, and also I wanted to correct something I'd said about the Lady Bird series of books. I had one that was talking about bird life along nesting and along the shorelines, and I looked on the back and there were quite a list of other books, maybe 30 of them or so, and then I saw up here it says 600 and some odd, and so I said, oh, there's 600 and some, but yeah, that list was natural science books. The Lady Bird series had 700 or so titles. Here's one of them, Kings and Queens, Book 2. Now, you know my favorite Kings and Queens is the one by Eleanor and Herbert Fargeron, where the illustrations are fantastic, and the poems that they write for the different kings and queens. That's what I find really. So here's one on knots, which I thought, oh, that would be important in terms of the sea and small boats or bigger boats at one point in time, knowing how to make certain knots. And this is a book they put out then to help those that find they want a knot that's going to stay. Or a knot that can be undone quickly, or a knot. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Now, about the gulls, I thought, well, I think a starting point for the gulls, for me, might be a guidebook. They'll tell me something about gulls. So this is a golden guidebook of birds of North America. And sure enough, they've got a section on seagulls. I like this feature that they have. Shows a different form of where the wings are placed and the angle of the wings between a shearwater, a falcon, a tern, and a gull, and so on. And then they have little maps and little bits of write-up as to, there's along the coast up here, Greenland and all, and here and here. And here's one on the Alaskan coast. So that's, here's one that some people might know. In fact, they even give the musical call, the call, I shouldn't say musical perhaps, the call of the herring gull. And it's found just about universally in North America. Certain parts of western part of Alaska, no, but just about everywhere else. Call, loud, clear, and bugle-like, it says. So that's the herring gull. Here's the great black-backed gull that I mentioned in connection with the puffins. And wingspan, 65 inches. That's 5 feet 5 inches. That's a big wingspan. And it's really quite elegant to see this black stripe with white. So And it tells about the herring gull. The first winter, the juveniles would have a coloration that looked, well, not gray and black, but brown everywhere. No white parts either. And then it starts to get some white, and this in the second winter, and they don't show the third winter, but usually they reach maturity about 4 or 5 years. Well, there's a whole a slew of Herman's gull, and then kittiwakes, and I think there's even a gull in here called the laughing gull, yeah, Franklin's gull, Bonaparte's gull, black-headed gull, the little gull, and then a section in here on immature gulls are very difficult to identify, and so they try to help with that, again with this first and second winters, third winters. You can see that this is the great black-backed, and there's no indication much of black at all here. In fact, it only is right here at the end of their feathers, and here it's all white there now, and the wings have become black by the third winter. So you'd get a little start, a little taste, I think. Another book that I particularly like, also actually put out by Golden Books, is the Giant Golden Book of Birds. I've shown it to you once before, I think once, maybe twice. But with the gulls, are really the paintings in this are so that's one way of showing them. One of the things that I like about it is that you can get a sense, a little bit of a sense of relative size. Now, this is the black-backed, and it's got a red mark on its lower beak. Now, it only develops that after it reaches maturity, because it's only used once they're a parent. Because when they're a parent, their young will tap when they're hungry on that red spot. It goes for the herring gull. It goes for, not all of them have it, California gull, and then the parent will regurgitate food for them. So it doesn't give you tons of information. So then you could go and look on the internet under herring gull, or in my case, the Canadian Wildlife Service, Hinterland Who's Who. You can go on the internet and Canadian Wildlife Service, Hinterland's Who's Who, and birds. And they'll give you birds, and you can scroll down and find the herring gull. So I don't know if you can see it, but it does have a dark spot there, because this is black and white. It's not color, which works out pretty well in terms of the herring gull. Now, the around the coastline, and the coastline even of Cuba, and up along the coastline on the east side, this is breeding grounds here in the Arctic, much like other birds. Flight silhouette, relation to human beings, appearance, nesting habits, breeding behavior, and under behavior it talks about herring-gull communication has been studied for several decades. It has a trumpeting long call. It threatens to peck a neighbor by drawing itself up to look bigger, lowering its bill tip ready to strike and pulling its wrist out of its body feathers. Then it steps stiffly towards its opponent. The Nobel Prize winner, Nico Tinbergen, and his students have studied the way that the behavior of the herring gull relates to the survival of individual birds. And so there's more about his observations, and that about the pecking was a response. Now, that was quite interesting to see a little drawing of that. It showed a person standing with a rod with the sort of the silhouette of the white bird and a red spot where the beak would be, and the mouth slightly open and a red spot there, and the seagull pecking at that red spot. And I'm thinking, well, that's a unusual situation that you've created here, to have a gull and a human being side by side, and but that's nevertheless. This is a book called Curious Naturalist by Nico Tinbergen, and my initial interest when I found the book was that it was had a lot about insects in it, bee hunters. It had sand wasp, camouflage. The bark with wings. Certain insects will look just like part of the bark. You can't even see that they exist there, only when they fly. And then 2 chapters, a chapter on cliff dwellers, and then 2 chapters on the black-headed gulls. It's not the black-backed gulls, it's the black-headed gulls, and eider invasion, and insects and flowers, and Curious Naturalists. And this is a neat book, a lot of curious information, and I think he expresses the different ideas that they come up with, a tremendous number of ideas and problem solving of how they might be able to determine if this is a stimulus, or if there's a connection between this and that. And so thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.